Yo, what is going on, everybody? It is Roush, and welcome to week 2 of the Pokemon Speedruns Draft League. This week, I have a much more properly built team builder video for you. Hopefully you like this new setup. I like it too. It's based off of the slides that we were using when FFN Crazy, excuse me, did his little draft analysis stream thing. I don't know if anybody saw that, but for those of you who remember it, I'm actually using pretty much the same slide layout that he's using. It's just that I threw my own little spin on it and posted the actual teams in here. So let's go ahead and talk about last week for me. It was a very nice victory, as you can see, 4-0 over the Razor Blades and Coach CHG Jake. Thanks in part to Greninja, which is currently sitting as the MVP of the league with beautiful 5 kills in a single match. Things to note, of course, Greninja is great. Yeah, not too much to note. You already know my team already. Let's go ahead and get into my opponent's team, actually. So this week we're going to be facing off against the Midwest Mawiles and Coach KingK Theater. He won a 1-0 victory over the New York Yanmegas, which was a Trick Room-based team, and a very haxy match. Both combatants agreed after the match that it was not very well played by either, but yet nonetheless, here we are. Things to note, Dragonite is very threatening so far, as you can see, the 3 kills and 1 death. Entei is 3 kills and a survival, was the lone survivor of that match against the Yanmegas. So a very offensive based team with kind of a stall core in the middle. It's relatively interesting if you look at it. So let's go ahead and take a look at that list. So first off, as you can see, we have Dragonite. Dragonite is a very offensive Pokemon. It could be Choice Bandit, it could be Dragon Dance Z Crystal, it could be Dragon Dance Leftovers, it could be Bulky Roost. Many different sets that it can run, but for the most part, it's going to be offensive. It's going to hit like a truck. So it's either going to be max physical attack invested or max special attack invested. Doesn't matter. Either one works. But again, it's going to be really bulky, especially thanks to that multi-scale ability, which is only going to make things cumbersome for my team, because multi-scale halves damage of any attack when Dragonite is at full health, which combats its 4 times ice weakness. So one of the things that I need to make sure for my team is I have ways of breaking that multi-scale consistently, so that way Dragonite is less of a threat. Ferrothorn, very bulky Pokemon, both physically and specially. It sets hazards, it gyro balls, maybe power whips, it might Thunder Wave everything, it might Leech Seed everything for recovery, but for the most part it's just a physical or special sponge. It could run something like Leftovers, Rocky Helmet, it could even run something special like Choppleberry or Occaberry in order to protect against its fire and fighting type weaknesses inversely. So let's see, Florges, very support-based Pokemon. It's got a fantastic support moveset. Wish, Protect, Toxic, Defog, Aromatherapy, Heal Bell, on and on and on, with Moonblast, Psychic coverage, it gets Grass coverage, it has Calm Mind if it wants to set up. So overall, it's a very bulky Pokemon. As you can see, 154 base special defense is nothing to scoff at, even though it's only base 78 HP Wishes, which is actually one of the lower HP stats on his team. But it still provides a lot of necessary healing for his team, as well as one of the best special sponges in the entire game, alongside all those support options that I mentioned before. So Florges is a very good Pokemon. Tentacruel. Tentacruel is an interesting Pokemon, especially versus my team, because I feel like it's hard for me to tell exactly what kind of set he could bring. If he's smart, he could run something like either Fizdav or specially defensive, but also offensive Tentacruel. I was looking at some of the calcs, and a Choice Specs or a Life Orb Tentacruel actually does a number to my team, because it's got an okay speed tier at base 100, but its coverage options are so strong versus my team. The only thing that is not weak to any of Tentacruel's main coverage options: Water, Giga Drain, Sludge Bomb, and then Ice Beam. The only Pokemon on my team that isn't weak to any of those combined is Empoleon. So that was something that I had to be very careful with in team building. I didn't want to lose to a surprise offensive Tentacruel. But I think I have just the right thing in place for that. Well, okay, I guess Gallade is neutral, but it's neutral to all of them. So Gallade is not quite a switch in on an offensive Tentacruel. But that option does exist. It's okay, it's got a moveset. Virizion's another Pokemon that can be offensive, can be bulky. It's got great setup options. It's got Calm Mind on the special side and Swords Dance on the physical side. Swords Dance, it gets coverage moves like Stone Edge, Leaf Blade, Close Combat, and Zen Headbutt is another move. I used Virizion last year, if you remember, so I ought to know that Pokemon very well. But it's also got Calm Mind set, so it can do Calm Mind, Giga Drain, Focus Blast, Hidden Power of your choice, and I can't remember, but I think there was one more coverage move in there. It's not coming to my head. But Virizion does have a 4x flying weakness, alongside a not so good physical defense stat to go along with a decent HP. But I think I have a decent way of shutting down Virizion Wireless LTE if that thing decides to get a hand. Oh, I'm sorry. This is Middle Ditch, which I guess is the name of the Verizon spokesperson guy. I guess. I don't know. I think he looked it up and he said that's what it was, and that's why he named it that. Haunter. Haunter is an interesting Pokemon. Normally you would look at it and be like, why would you draft the Haunter? Wouldn't Gengar be a better option? But if you look at his team, it's not that bad a pick. It's got the second most amount of special attack on his team, but a very okay speed tier at base 95. It's very interesting because it's at that speed tier where it can be a fantastic Scarfer, or it could also run kind of a wall breaker type set. It could run a spec set as well because it's got the special attack to really dent walls. So Haunter's a weird Pokemon, but it does have a certain niche on this team and in the draft metagame. And I learned that looking at some of the calcs on it. That thing can be threatening if I leave it unchecked. Mega Manectric is another Pokemon that has a very, very solid matchup versus my team. It doesn't have a heck of a lot of coverage moves, but the moves that it does get are very useful. Stuff like Volt Switch and Thunderbolt for electric coverage, of course. Hidden Power Ice also gets Overheat / Flamethrower, and it also has a potential for a Signal Beam. Thunderbolt, of course, strikes my Water-type pairings down tremendously, alongside my Crobat. Hidden Power Ice absolutely destroys Zygarde. It comes close to one-hit KOing my Zygarde, unless I throw a lot of special defense investment into it. Overheat knocks down Tangrowth a couple of notches. Signal Beam is the best move to deal damage to my Claydol, which would normally come in and sponge hits from Mega Main and wins the matchup one-on-one. But if he plays it smart, Manectric could be one of, if not the most threatening member of his team. However, in my opinion, the absolute biggest threat out of this entire roster, based on my team, is this Terrakion. Base 108 speed. And the problem is this. It can set up just as fast as Dragonite. it could be Rock Polish and Swords Dance, and that is the set that I am worried about more than any other, is a double dancing Terrakion with Close Combat and Stone Edge. I have 2 resists to the dual stab, that being my dual psychic types, my Gallade and my Claydol, but Terrakion just hits like a gosh darn truck anyway, but it could also be Choice Scarf or Choice Bandit with X Scissor, which hits both of them. It could do Iron Head or Poison Jab to also strike at Sylveon. Or he could run Quick Attack to go along with his dual Extreme Speed users in order to revenge kill some of my Pokemon. And speaking of revenging with Extreme Speed, Entei was a real problem to build for as well. Extreme Speed, Sacred Fire, Stone Edge, could get Hidden Power Ice, Stomping Tantrum, Natural Gift is an option that I've seen used in the past. I got dunked on with a Natural Gift Entei last year. Killed, did it kill? It might have killed my Swampert last time. So I don't know, but Iron Head. I think Entei also gets Iron Head. Yeah, there it is. So all coverage options for Entei. Entei, if it's Choice Bandit, chunks my defensive cores heavily with the right prediction and right coverage moves. So I need to be very careful for something like Entei. But I think I'm ready for it enough. Mandibuzz can be a threat as well, more or less on the stall defensive side. It gets Roush, Toxic, Foul Play. Foul Play is a huge problem for my team because my best way of dealing damage to Mandibuzz is either Xurkitree or my physical setup sweepers, which Mandibuzz really doesn't care about physical sweepers because it just foul plays them to death anyway. So I had to build very carefully around that this week. And last but not least is Miltank. Miltank is a mixed bag. Milk Drink, Heal Bell, Toxic, Protect, Seismic Toss, Ice Punch, Body Slam, but it also gets Surprise Stealth Rocks. So Miltank could be a definite supporter on this team if he decides to bring it, but I think I have a brilliant enough team to be able to tackle the Mawiles. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into Roush. What the hell are you bringing? So first off, we have Now. Now is the Claydol. So I wanted to bring definitely Stealth Rocks. Definitely Stealth Rocks. It's the easiest way of breaking a multi-skill Dragonite. Ice Beam, Earth Power, Psyshock, Stealth Rocks with an Expert Belt, with a tiny bit of special attack investment, and a lot of physical bulk, also a little bit of speed in there. The speed is to outspeed, I want to say it was Mandibuzz. So Mandibuzz is not going to be able to taunt me if he decides to taunt that. And I can chunk it with Ice Beam with an Expert Belt. If he's physically defensive, I believe it was a 3-hit KO, which also bodes well in my favor because I outspeed his potential roosts. Unless he does have some speed investment, I'm designed to outspeed him by 1 point. It wasn't worth throwing more in there. Yes, 3-hit KO on physically defensive Mandibuzz. So I need to be careful of that. Mandibuzz, in return, thanks to my investment, is only doing about 25% with Foul Play, thanks to my decent physical defense and my not-so-good physical attack. So it bodes well for me, even though it's super effective. Claydol can chunk hits and possibly win the Mandibuzz matchup one-on-one. Psyshock is there for the Tentacruel, mainly. Earth Power is there mainly for Entei, but is also good against Mega Mane as well. It doesn't one-hit KO either of them, but it's clean 2-hit KO, and thanks to my HP investment, neither of these Pokemon 2-hit KO back, unless Entei locks himself into Sacred Fire, which honestly, my fire resist is called Incineroar. And Incineroar, unfortunately, just didn't have as good a matchup as I would have liked against the rest of the team, bar Ferrothorn. I just felt like it was too weak to Dragonite, too weak to Tentacruel, too weak to everything else to bring. So instead of Incineroar, I brought another check. Not entirely a counter, but we also brought merchandising this week. So merchandising the Empoleon came this week. This thing is mainly to take on that the tricky Dragonite. So after Stealth Rocks, Ice Beam when it KOs. Toxic is there to be a secondary helping to break multi-scale. Second Stealth Rocker because rocks are incredibly important, and KingK does have 3 potential hazard clears with that Mandibuzz, with the Tentacruel, with the Florges, all getting a form of hazard removal. Dragonite does get it as well, but if Dragonite is carrying Defog, that just makes it easier to kill. Shukaberry this week, so I don't lose to a surprise Grandium Z Dragonite. Because Empoleon is one of the things that actually has a really good matchup against Dragonite, I wanted to make sure that I couldn't get surprised, lured, and killed. So that was the whole point behind the Shukaberry this week. Defog so I can get rid of Ferrothorn hazards without being too concerned in return. Of course, I already said Stealth Rock why. Ice Beam is there for the Dragonite. Toxic is there to Toxic anything that isn't named Ferrothorn, just to get some chip damage, because that's going to be the name of the game. With a team that's weak to Stealth Rocks, a threatening team that's weak to Stealth Rocks, it's going to be Chunk with Rocks, Chunk with Poison, and then Revenge Kill in the end. So alongside this, continuing on the defensive core, I also brought Sylveon. So Sylveon was kind of a weird choice for me, but I felt like it needed to be brought. Wish support was just too good to go without this week, just in case I get caught into a stall match. Also, Sylveon has a very nice matchup against the Mandibuzz, which is something that is always going to be welcomed by me. Hyper Voice does roughly 50% to a specially defensive Mandibuzz. That's fully specially defensive Mandibuzz, and does about 68 to 70 so percent against a physically defensive version with the Hyper Voice Pixelate. So this thing is designed to help take on the Mandibuzz, sponge some physical hits, and get off those beautiful 197 HP wishes. So Sylveon's going to be there mainly for team support, but also to help take out the Mandibuzz. Heal Bell just in case Ferrothorn starts Thunder Waving and Mandibuzz starts Toxicking everything in sight. However, I do have a way of just completely demolishing KingK's stall core with a single Pokemon. Crobat. Crobat really only fears one thing, and that's getting burned. And that's another reason why Sylveon is so important this week. Roost, Brave Bird, Taunt, Toxic. This thing is just designed to sit and stall. Its speed is faster than Virizion, and I do one-hit KO offensive Virizion with my Brave Bird, so that's why Brave Bird is brought this week. So not only does this thing flat out counters Florges, unless Florges is surprised really offensive with Psychic, Crobat isn't too KO'd by it and can just taunt and roost, throw up Toxic, and just keep taunting until it's gone. Same thing with Mandibuzz. Mandibuzz isn't doing entirely too much in return thanks to my physical defense boost and my HP investment. How much was that doing? Mandibuzz is doing about 25%. And again, I could just roost off the damage and chunk with Toxic. So, also deals really well with Ferrothorn, because Ferrothorn can do a lot of damage with Gyro Ball. However, it doesn't 2-hit KO unless they're critical. So Ferrothorn Gyro Ball does 40 to 47% thanks to my investment. So I can simply taunt it if it wants to try and set up Leech Seeds, Hazards, etc. And just Roush stall it completely out of Gyro Balls. And once it's out of Gyro Balls, Crobat completely walls it. So Crobat just stalls out Ferrothorn to no end. Gyro Ball only has 8 maximum power points. Roush has 16. So I easily take the one-on-one matchup. So that's why Crobat's brought this week, because it just does so well versus his stall core. And it's absolutely ridiculous. So here is Ridiculous Speed, the Gallade, Mega Gallade being brought this week. Interesting matchup. Swords Dance, Ice Punch, Drain Punch, Psycho Cut. This is my end goal. I want Gallade to be the mon that wins, because there are basically 2 things that really scare this Gallade. Getting burnt by Sacred Fire / Scald, Mandibuzz, Dragonite, and Ferrothorn, unless it's been kind of neutered. But other than that, Gallade just has a fantastic matchup versus this team. If the rocks are up, Dragonite dies to Ice Punch. Ferrothorn dies if I get my Swords Dance up. Florges is 2-hit KO'd if I get my Swords Dance up. With Psycho Cut into Drain Punch actually kills. So there's that if I'm at +2. Tentacruel, 1-hit KO'd. The only way that Tentacruel really beats me is if it's Scarfed and gets a Scald Burn on me. Virizion loses 1-on-1. Haunter loses 1-on-1. Unless it's Choice Scarfed. Choice Scarfed Haunter, if Gallade is chunked, Scarf Haunter can do up to 90%. So I just need to be careful about that. Manectric would also win the one-on-one matchup, so that's another reason why Claydol and the Schwartz are so important, is to help chunk the Manectric down. Terrakion, if it's Scarfed, doesn't really do that much to Mega Gallade. Iron Head, Poison Jab, and X Scissor all do about 57 to 67%, but the dual stab moves are effectively neutered thanks to Gallade's defensive typing. Entei cannot kill with the extreme speed, but Gallade only does about 50% in return, or does less than 50% in return. So I need a Swords Dance and Rocks in order for Entei to be properly dealt with. It's just something to be very careful of. Mandibuzz, physically defensive Mandibuzz is the other thing standing in the way of this behemoth. Well, I guess also, wow, Miltank. Defensive Miltank and defensive Mandibuzz are also roadblocks to this Mega Gallade, and that's the main reason why I have Ice Punch this week, is it had the most damage dealt to Mandibuzz because I didn't want to get caught running a close combat. Drain Punch just gives me enough health. It's just that important to me, having the extra bit of health for the extreme speed and quick attack users on this team. So Mandibuzz only takes 33% from Ice Punch, yes, from Ice Punch if I'm not set up. So in order for me to defeat Mandibuzz, I need Rocks and my Swords Dance up. So like the only thing that's going to get this Mega Gallade the victory over Mandibuzz is me catching it off of a surprise on the switch, which I'd expect off of Tentacruel, because I think I can get him to be scared of the Psychic Stab and go out to Mandibuzz on the on a predicted Psychic move. So that's going to be my game plan with Mega Gallade this week, is try and trip up his defensive core with Crobat and then get him to lower his guard around the Mega Gallade and then surprise sweep him in the end with the Swords Dance. However, if all else fails, I do need an extra revenge option just in case Entei goes nuts or Dragonite starts going nuts, and I have a very appropriate answer in the form of ludicrous speed. So I really didn't want to bring Greninja this week. I was like, oh, Greninja doesn't have a good matchup. I'd much rather bring Scarf Xurkitree. But something like a Scarf Terrakion or a Dragonite at +1, there wasn't entirely too much that even Xurkitree could do. Xurkitree only did, oh geez, what was it? Like 60%? Yes. Only did like 60% to Dragonite. With the rocks gone. Or with the rocks up, sorry. So Xurkitree only had like, I want to say it was a 25% chance to one-hit KO after Stealth Rocks with the Dazzling Gleam, and in order for Xurkitree to sweep, I needed it to carry Hidden Power Fire for Ferrothorn. So Greninja just became a significantly better option for me in the revenge killing department because I could have that ice coverage and the fire coverage. Even though it only does about 50 to 60% to Fizz Def Ferrothorn, this Hidden Power Fire, that still could be the difference between victory and a loss. But again, I have Crobat to check Ferrothorn, so that's going to be the big problem there. So Surf to deal massive damage to stuff like Terrakion and Entei, and this is, I can really only revenge Entei. U-turn just in case I predict to switch out into a wall, something that Gallade can take care of mainly. Ice Beam to revenge kill Dragonite. +1 extreme speed does not knock out Greninja. So it does like 70 to 80%. So keeping rocks off the field is incredibly important to me. So yeah, that's going to be my team. We got now we have merchandising, we have DeSchwartz, we have then ridiculous speed and ludicrous speed. Hopefully this will be a good match. I prepped like murder for this team. It is a murderer's row type, but we'll see how it turns out. I'll see y'all for the match. Peace out.